Hello there, welcome along. This is Business Connections Live. Great to have your company as always. It is program number 68 and a cracking show lined up for you tonight. As you've seen by the title, we're going to be talking a little bit about internet marketing. Now, my guest tonight is Michael Nagels of Strowther Marketing Solutions. When your company gets really big, yes, when it gets really big, really successful, and you have a rocking operation that mirrors your vision, then you're going to have someone down the hallway that's going to do the job of maintaining your website and promoting your business for you through social media and also search engine marketing. And you've also got to stay abreast of the trends in search engine optimization. So who do you turn to when you want to do that? Well, the guy to turn to is going to be Michael and his team of merry men. It's lovely to have you with us this evening. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that. Appreciate the opportunity.
First of all, let's get rid of the elephant in the room. First of all, the accent, of course. You are not from these fair isles, are you?
I'm not. I'm from America. I'm from a small town in the Midwest. I tell everybody, I'm going to reveal a secret now. I tell everybody I'm from Texas. And the reason I tell everybody I'm from Texas is because when I say I'm from Kansas City, they always say, "Oh, you mean where Dorothy comes from?" and then they start calling it Kansas. So now the secret is out. I'm from the Midwest, from the middle of the United States.
Well, I promise you this, we're not going to be clicking our heels together and returning with the dog back to Kansas at any stage during the show over the next 60 minutes. We're going to talk a little bit about internet marketing. We're also going to talk a little bit about networking, and also you're a member of For Networking, and we really appreciate you being with us this evening. But let's go back a little bit on what your background is and where you've come from, and also the whole concept of internet marketing. When people think about internet marketing, what should they be thinking about? What's the first thoughts that should be coming into their mind's eye?
Well, internet marketing is kind of an umbrella term for a number of different platforms that you can use to promote your business online. Twitter is internet marketing. Facebook is internet marketing. Your website is certainly internet marketing. And all of the supporting elements of your website, such as SEO, search engine marketing, Google AdWords, Bing, all of those encompass internet marketing.
Do you think a lot of businesses actually get that clear in their mind's eye? Do they sometimes see social media as being one thing, maybe their website has been nothing more than an electronic brochure? Sometimes
it doesn't just clearly click when you talk to them about it. I've asked people, usually I'll start the conversation as, so what kind of internet marketing are you doing? And a lot of them say, well, we don't do any internet marketing. Oh, you don't have a website? Oh yeah, we have a website. Yeah, we got a website. Oh, okay. Are you on Twitter? Oh yeah, we're on Twitter. Facebook page? Yeah, we got a Facebook page. Those are three elements of internet marketing. And then that changes the whole dynamics of the conversation. Where do you think we are when it comes to the whole development of internet marketing? Do you think that while you say there is a confusion about what internet marketing is, do you think a lot of the businesses that you speak to really do get a handle on it and actually do understand that it is part of a strategic marketing campaign that they should be working towards? Well, different businesses have different strengths. It kind of depends on their background. And a lot of it now, in all honesty, depends on their own age. I have a son and daughter who are 23 and 24, and they understand elements of internet marketing and the internet itself that I don't understand. I'm about to turn 50, and people who are my age sometimes have a far less understanding of all of this stuff. And so the progression of internet marketing as this umbrella term and the concept of it is different things to different people.
You know, it's really interesting you say that. You just about turned 50. Of course, it was the likes of Steve Jobs, and it was he was 55 when he passed away.
Yeah.
So it is our generation that brought.
Thanks for that.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just to cheer you up. But it's our generation. Well, Bill Gates, same age.
Yeah.
It is our generation that actually brought computing to the masses. Yeah, sometimes we're the ones that are perceived to understand it the least.
I remember in the very early days of internet marketing and the internet itself and the web and people just not being able to wrap their heads around it. What do you mean I'll use email to communicate with people? What do you mean I'll have this telephone and I'll text instead of talking to people? I have a brother who is several years older than me, and his daughters laugh because they text him and he calls them back. And they'll text and say, Dad, we're thinking about coming over for dinner on Sunday, is that okay? And he'll call them back and say, yeah, that'd be great. You guys, what do you want to have? You want to have turkey? You want to have ham? Dad, you could have just texted me back. And so that's his whole, that's his perception and his grasp of internet marketing. He's in America, he'll never see this. That'll come back to haunt me tomorrow.
Well, yeah, he'll be watching it tomorrow. The thing I think that's interesting about that is that there is this tendency now to go towards using short text messages, when in fact a conversation, talking to somebody, is actually probably more powerful. And there is that. So, you know, Dad, can we come over for dinner? Yes, you can. What would you like? Would like chicken. What would you like with the chicken? Well, roast potato. All of a sudden there's a conversation.
Yeah.
Do you think we've lost perhaps maybe the art of conversing with our customers?
There's so many ways for them to reach us. Used to be, they picked up the phone and they called us, and we either answered it or a gatekeeper took the call and we called them back. In an ideal situation, that's how it worked. Now they can text us, they can email us, they can tweet us. Live chat, internet. I mean, it just boggles the mind.
All sorts of things there, aren't there, now that we can actually use for that communication?
I've had a customer I've been communicating with today who's had a problem, and we've communicated actually on 3 different levels. He's tweeted me, and he's texted me, and then we've had a phone conversation, all around the same problem that we were trying to solve.
It's interesting because you were describing your business to me before we started the program, and it's interesting that even though you're based here in the UK, your customer base is both here in the UK and also in the States too.
Less so in the US.
But even though the fact that there are customers over there, is it because of the technology that allows you to do that?
Well, yeah, I'm a consultant for the biggest part. It's not like building a kitchen. It's not redoing the kitchen where I say, all right, come in here and look at the kitchen. Now I can send them a link, they can look at it online. We can talk about it, and with things like Join Me or GoToMeeting, we can talk online and look at it and work on it at the same time. We don't have to be together. So before I came here 3 years ago, 75% of my customers in America I had never met. They'd been referred to me by various businesses, and we had talked on the phone. And I've got some, even in the UK, as small as the UK is, and of course my marketing, as we discussed, is a totally different method, but I've still got clients I've never met before.
But listen, look, before we start talking seriously about internet marketing and maybe the common mistakes that small businesses, even large businesses, will actually make when it comes to their internet marketing, and maybe some quick fixes for them as well. What about you? What's your background? Why should we be listening to your words of wisdom? I mean, have you learned the hard way? I mean, what is your background?
Like a lot of people who are in this field, the online marketing field, my background is more experience-based than education-based, because when I started it, there was no education to be had. I first got I've always been involved with computers and computer technology. I was in the American Army for 10 years, and that was a large part of what I did. When I got out of the Army, those computer-related jobs didn't pay anything. And so I went to work for a large national company in America, and got involved in their marketing teams. I worked for that company when they started their first website. This was about 1995, 1996. And so very crude website design, and I was on a team of people that were giving input into this process, because we didn't have web designers and we didn't have online marketers. We just had people who said, this is a good idea, we should try this. And so I worked with that company and did a number of things in their marketing area, not specific to the web, but it was part of that process, and started to get really interested in it. Like a lot of people from that era, 1995 to 2000, a lot of what I know I taught myself, because that's how we did it. We picked up a book, or we got online, or we used trial and error, and we wrote HTML and code, and that's just how we did it.
Do you think then that when we look at that now, I mean, if you're a pure marketeer originally, if that's where you started as a marketeer, do you think today what we've got is we've got people who don't understand marketing, but maybe do understand the internet? And even conversely, maybe some of your customers and the people that you act as a consultant for, they don't really understand how to market on the internet, but they understand traditional marketing.
The best operations to work with, the best service providers to work with, are ones that have a little bit of a mix of both. You need some of those nerdy guys who just like sitting at a keyboard and doing code and designing and drinking Red Bull to get the work done. But you also need people that know how to talk, know how to present a product, know how to create selling points, and know how to get the message across. Those little nerdy guys, love them as much as I do, and I am kind of one still. but I had to learn the marketing skills to complement that before I could truly be successful in what I'm doing. The best agencies are the guys where you don't ever really get to talk to the guy that's doing the coding, because that's just not his thing. He doesn't talk to people.
Yeah, that's it. He's in another life, another room, way out.
And you find plenty of people. I know lots of people that are a good mix of both, that have the ability to carry on the conversation and do the work. But it's changed. The dynamics of it have changed from the 1900s, I guess it is.
All right. Well, let's go right up to date. I mean, it's interesting to hear that the background is steeped in traditional marketing, and I think that's something that's of real interest. Moving on to what happens today, let's talk about the internet marketing, the whole stream of it. You kind of gave a definition there. When we're thinking about our websites and where we start and what we should be looking at, what are the key things do you think should be on our list that we've got in front of us? Should be, we hear words like SEO banded around on a regular basis. You read adverts. We've all had emails in our inboxes that say, want to be on page 1 of Google? Do we need to be on page 1 of Google? It's those kind of things that we're getting on a regular basis. SEO, keywords, we hear a lot about keywords. What should we be considering? What are the things that should be keeping us all awake at night if we want a successful internet marketing campaign?
If it's keeping you awake at night, you need to get some help, because it shouldn't be keeping you awake at night. This is just part of business now. That's like saying that not having a telephone keeps me awake at night. In 1972, you would have said not having a telephone keeps me awake at night. Now, not having a website or not having help with my website keeps me awake at night. The biggest mistake that everybody makes at some point outside the profession is to give up ownership of all of these different elements. The thing that we tackle the most at Strother Marketing Solutions is helping people regain ownership of things like domain names and their Twitter account and different elements of social media that they've just lock, stock, and barrel handed over to somebody who came and said, I can do your social media. It's £250 a month, and you give me your Twitter password and your Facebook password and leave it with me. And then when they decide that relationship's not working anymore, they've given up the keys to the kingdom to somebody they no longer have a good relationship with, and it's hard to get them back.
Do you see that a lot then, where nearly accounts are hijacked by someone who you commissioned for work previously?
The biggest thing I see is domain name hijacking. A simple question: do you know how to register a domain?
Maybe.
Okay.
I think I might do. Yes.
All right. I'll tell you what I'll do, Steve. I'll register it for you.
Thank you very much. Well, that makes it a lot easier.
Okay, I'll register it for you. And so I've got the settings for your website. I'm going to register this domain.
Right.
All right, it's done. Try it now. Pull up the website. Is it working?
It is.
Job done. And that's great until you don't like me anymore. Or even worse, I don't like you anymore. Because now I have the keys to the kingdom. I registered your domain. What happens if you can't get me on the phone?
So what can somebody do in that particular instance then if they have handed the keys of the kingdom over?
It's hard to get the keys to the kingdom back, but there's also the saying that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. You can do things at the front end of the relationship, while it's still a good relationship, to get control and security of all of your web marketing tools, your domain name, and all of that. I've got a recent client, I guess this was late last year, had a client in the London area that called me, and this was the scenario. Got up this morning, our website was offline. We started calling the web designer and didn't get an answer. So we got in the car and we drove over to the web designer's office and met his landlord, who was cleaning up and redecorating the office because our web designer disappeared 2 weeks ago and we haven't been able to find him since. He's got access to our web server, he's got our web hosting account, he's got some Google accounts that are key to our website, and most importantly, he's got our domain registration. I can't get and check email. I've got 7 employees who no longer have access to their email. We're at a standstill. Can you help us?
And can you?
Well,
what can be done in that situation? Because, I mean, you hear stories about email accounts and websites being hijacked, and you're nearly held to ransom.
Honestly, what ended up happening is they started over. They started over from scratch. They had to hire a new website designer and build a new website because this person, this rogue agent who has disappeared and still, the last time I talked to this client, hasn't been able to find him. He had the keys to the kingdom and he took them with him when he left. And the thing is, he registered the domain in his name, and legally, he owns the domain. Business Connections Live has a website. I should not own the domain for that website for any reason ever.
And really, you know, for no other reason, just check. You can actually. Now, how would you check if your website is registered to you?
The simplest way to do it is go to there's a website, who.is, so who.is. If you go to that website, you can put in your domain name, and it will send back what's called the Whois record, which actually says, Steve Hyland owns this website, here's the business address for the website, and here's where the website is hosted, the domain servers, gives the basic information about it. Now, you can ask to be hidden from that, but in most cases, if your name is hidden from that, it's because you asked for it to be. Mm-hmm. So if you pull up any website, you can check that. And you can check any website in the world to see who owns it.
And so it's well worth, if you are a small business, if you're any sort of business, in fact, if you've got a website, check who owns your domain name.
Yeah. I've got another client who, his website just wasn't really working right. And this was about 2 years ago. I started working with Paul, and he and I met at a networking meeting where I meet everybody, and we were looking at some things on his website, and I said, that's not quite working right, and that's a little sluggish, and this needs to be tuned. So I said, I'll write some things down. Take this back to your web designer. Now, his web designer was a guy named Joe. I won't tell you Joe's last name, but his web designer was a guy named Joe. Joe had met Paul at a networking meeting, and told Paul, I'm starting this website business. I'm going to do website designs. I'll do your website. Oh, great, Paul says. You do my website. Well, when Joe's website design business didn't work out, Joe went back to working in the warehouse because that was his background. And he never returned a phone call. And so Paul and I kept sending him emails saying, would you fix this? Would you fix this? Joe was non-responsive. And so finally got to the point where Paul says, all right, we need to be more aggressive. I need to fix my website. Well, then we found out that Joe owned the domains.
So there's nothing very much you could do about it.
Well, every answer we got from the domain registry, the company that registered them, and I register domains, Reg123, GoDaddy, these are the types of companies I'm talking about. When we went back to them, they simply said, you don't own the domain, Joe does. And so Joe has to release it and give it back to you. Well, Joe's gone. Joe's gone forever. We finally got it sorted out, but it took us the better part of 9 months, and we had to provide a lot of documentation. If it's a .co.uk domain, the registrar for those domains, the .uk domains, has got a pretty good system set up to help you retrieve it. But if you've registered it as a .com, a .net, a .biz, those companies aren't even always based in the UK. And they have very strict rules, and it's very hard to talk to them. And they will, if it is the right thing and you can prove your rights to it, get it back. But how long will your business suffer before you get it done? Because Paul's business didn't suffer because he had a website up and the website continued to work, but he couldn't update it. And we spent the better part of a year before we got it sorted out.
Well, it just goes to show, it's a tale that you need to be very, very aware of, that kind of thing can happen. Do actually go to the website, is it who.is?
Who.is, and put in your domain name. And if it doesn't have your name on it, but you recognize the name, then just simply call them and say, hey, Bob, I'd like to get my domain put back in my name. Can you help me transfer that? I need to take ownership of it.
Listen,
and if you don't know how to do this, then you can call someone who can help you. And it doesn't have to be me, but I'd like that.
It'd be a good start.
Be a good start.
I always go for a pitch, that's what I always say. And it is interesting on saying that as well. Actually, I do know that our domain names are well and truly ours. But of course, the big thing at the moment, and if you listen to any of the gurus that are out there, or some of the gurus that are out there, the ones that purport to be gurus, in business, they will say to you, well, really what you should be doing is outsourcing what you're doing. And You know, the very thing we were talking about there when it comes to outsourcing is outsourcing of your social media. Is that going to be something, in fact, that is actually going to be causing you the particular issue that you've got? I mean, honestly, that's what you've got to start thinking about. Listen, if you're joining us for the first time, it's great to have your company as always. It is Business Connections Live, and it is program number 68. Michael Nagels is my guest this evening. We're talking about internet marketing. Also going to be talking a little bit about phone networking as well, the power of phone networking, the power of networking, how you can maximize your return. Now, we talk a lot about phone networking, and we make no apologies about that. They are one of the finest networking organisations. There are other networking organisations out there, BNI, Business Scene, people like that. But for networking, we've got a close affiliation with. We love the guys up there. And of course, Brad Burton, very heavily involved with that too. So it's always a pleasure. And more news coming along very shortly about For Networking TV, which will be going out from the studios here at Business Connections Live. Okay, now last week we had a cracking show, great guest on. Not that I'm saying this week's guest isn't, but last week's guest, Peter Levargi. He's a partner with Charles Russell Speechley, solicitors and specialists in advising landlords, come on, I can do it, and occupiers on property issues. If you're a landlord, if you're a tenant, maybe you've come up against those problems. Maybe there's been some of this come through. Maybe you're thinking about coming up to a break clause at the moment. Maybe you've outgrown the premises you're in and you're thinking to yourself, you know, it's time for me to move on. Time for me to get somewhere bigger, but how can I rid myself of my current premises? And then you go through, you see there's a break clause in there, and you think to yourself, yep, break clause, no problem at all. And then something comes along to kick you, like maybe perhaps you didn't pay some maintenance or something like that was meant to be going on, a service charge. And this could be maybe years down the line, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in a situation where perhaps you are stuck in the building that you are stuck in, and you need to move on, but you can't because you have actually gone against the break clauses in the contract. It's one potential area of disaster for a growing business. Well, last week we were talking to Peter. He explained some of the things that can be done, some of the things to watch out for, and as Michael's just been saying, the time to be doing this, the time to be sorting things out is when you're going into the contract in the very first place. Let's have a look at last week's Business Connections Live. So our guest this evening is Peter Levargi. He is the partner with Charles Russell Speechley. They're solicitors who specialise in advising landlords and occupiers on property issues.
We are one of the top 20 law firms in the country, so we're big. Solicitors are now highly specialist. Most big firms, the solicitors within those firms are specialist solicitors. Specialisation, strangely, by itself can make things cheaper, strangely, because in a way, the charges may go up because you are specialist and you can demand a higher price. However, because we're specialist, we get to the actual answer far quicker. Now the average length of a commercial lease is 5 years. And actually, tenants sometimes want the ability to end their lease before the 5 years is up. So there's an awful lot of churn in the market. Businesses start up, or businesses may expand into a different property. But then that might not work out. And there isn't the confidence per se to say, I'm going to take a 10-year position there or 20-year position there. It's more about, well, let's see how it goes. And tenants often assume that they're easy to operate. I've got the right to break, it's there in black and white in my lease. This is what it says, this is what I can do. The point is that those the things like the Unfair Contract Terms Act has limited application to business. If you're taking advice about your lease and you end up in that situation, and your solicitor hasn't properly advised you, that's a negligence case. What's the point of, refurbishing your office just before you leave, when actually all the landlord's going to do is come in and apply for planning permission to convert the building to residential use, and then carry out major works in putting that into practice, creating apartments or whatever. So actually, it doesn't matter really whether you've repaired or left it in disrepair. It's irrelevant. Hi, I'm Peter Lavaggi. I'm a partner at Charles Russell Speechleys. We are one of the largest law firms in the country, and I am a partner in the property litigation department, and my team is one of the biggest property litigation departments in the country. So we like to think we know what we're doing, and I would like to give you a little bit of advice, top tips. Those top tips, I was going to abbreviate them, will be as follows. Firstly, break clauses. Well, when you're taking a new lease, be really, really careful. If you have a break clause and you need to rely upon that break clause, that it's going to work, because they often don't. They don't because of small technical issues, and it's very, very easy to get wrong. So make sure your break clause is properly drafted and it actually works. Another point is where you're a landlord. Those landlords, small landlords, big landlords out there, if you have a tenant, a retail tenant that might be facing solvency issues, act quickly, get in quickly. You might want to consider forfeiture, you might want to consider sending in an enforcement agent to exercise what is now called commercial rent arrears recovery. So get in quickly, and that's absolutely essential. I think the final point is this whole business of interest rate hedging products and other types of financial instrument that a bank may have sold to a small business, and that probably includes every propco, every property company just about in the country, if not every, certainly a large majority of them. If you have a claim and the bank may have contacted you to alert you to the fact that you have a claim, take that claim quite seriously and take advice. Be hesitant about giving the bank information of any kind before you take advice. It's actually important to make sure you provide the right information presented in the right way. It makes a very serious difference.
Peter Lavaggi there, partner with Charles Russell Speechleys Solicitors. They specialise in advising landlords and occupiers on property issues and leases. Well worth giving them a call. If you want to watch the entire programme, it is Business Connections Live number 67. It's a cracking show. He's a great storyteller. He does tell one story in the programme of a young lady who had a motoring offence and ended up losing her home, which happened to be a castle, because she just wouldn't take no for an answer. She felt that she had a defence, turned out in the end that she didn't have a defence, and I'm afraid along the way she lost her home into the bargain. Just goes to show you what can happen if you don't keep your head on your shoulders when it comes to advice and actually legal issues like that. We've just been talking about who is, my guest this evening is Michael Nagels, and we're talking about internet marketing tonight. And one of the things that many people do is that they don't register their domain name themselves. They get somebody else to do it because they feel perhaps it's the right way of going about it. Maybe you've got somebody in, there's one of the kids, he's 17, he's 18, he's 19, he understands these things. Look, register our domain name, would you, for us? And then he registers it as him. And all of a sudden you find yourself in a circumstance or in a situation where you can no longer access it because you and him have had words, you've fallen out, he's moved on to bigger and better things. And you find yourself now in a situation where, yes, you've got a domain, but you can't get at it any longer. And because it's in his name, you have no legal right over it because it is his domain name and not yours. Make certain you get it right. If you do go to Whose Is, and if you have a look at this particular screen, I just went in there to have a look at Business Connections Live. You can see the raw register data is all sitting there. The registration company who we are registered with, the owners of the actual domain name is sitting there as well. The address is sitting on there, where our studio address is, all that. And of course you can do that yourself with your own registered domain name. Just go on there, Who Is, type in the name, and you'll get all the information and details. Now, that is for a .com. It does differ, doesn't it, with a .co.uk, though, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, the .coms and .net and .biz are managed by other agencies, but in the UK specifically, Nominet is the overall authority for .uk domains. They've got a much more sophisticated system for validating these things. If you're going to lose control of your domain, try to lose control of a .uk domain because it's easier to get back. They will give you an opportunity to prove ownership, that you're the rightful owner. And so if the domain is registered under Bob Smith, the web designer who did your website, who's no longer in touch with you, you can go online and show that you own the business, but there are some things you want to do with Nominet to protect yourself as well. For instance, if you register the business, some people don't like to put their names on this stuff because they think it's going to violate their privacy or that they're going to end up on spam list. And there's a risk of that. But remember, this is your business. This is your livelihood. And so are you willing to
put your name on it somewhere, haven't you?
Are you willing to be on a spam list and protect your livelihood? So if you put Bob as the registrant name, if your name's not Bob, I guess I'm not being very clear. People will make up a name. They don't want to put their real name. So my name's Michael Nagel. So my name is on all of my domain registrations. If I put Steve Hyland on my domain registrations...
That's me, not you.
And the problem comes when I need to make a change to it, but I don't have ownership of it. And the thing they're going to want me to show them to prove that I'm Steve Hyland, or that I own the domain rather, is stuff that says I'm Steve Hyland.
Yeah.
Had a client that had this issue with a .uk domain, and instead of it being registered in a human's name, it was set up in a business name. That's only a good idea if you're a limited company, if you're a properly registered UK company.
Because that has a
certificate.
A certificate.
I have a piece of paper that says...
Well, it is a person in its own right, isn't it?
Yeah. But if you're not a properly registered company, if your name is simply Steve Hyland and you put Business Connections Live as the owner of the website, what have you got to prove that you are Business Connections Live? Because if you're a sole trader, you really got nothing. Business cards is not proof that you're Business Connections Live. You're not going to have Business Connections Live on your driver's license, which is a piece of information they'll ask for.
Yep.
Copy of your driver's license, copy of your passport, copy of your bank statement. Those are the three things they're going to want to prove you own the business. And since you probably, if you're a sole trader, your business name isn't on any of those three things.
So, cautionary tale there. All right, that's the main names that we've got to be very careful about.
Yeah.
Let's move on to just a couple of the other, because, I mean, time is flying by. Let's move on to the other common mistakes, the main names. What else should we be aware of? What about these emails that we get from people that say, I can put you on the front page of Google. That'll be a great thing.
Anyone who emails you a solicitation to do SEO or any kind of work should just be banned. Just don't waste your time with it. And the reason I say that is now there are enough people in the industry, enough legitimate, proper operators in the industry that either you'll know someone or you'll know someone who knows someone.
Can you do it yourself, Michael? Can you SEO? Can you get yourself up the ranking yourself? What are the secrets? What's the inside track on this?
As with most things in life, it's education, and you can do anything yourself if you're educated. You can do brain surgery if you're educated. You get your wife to lay down on this table and you pull up brain surgery on the internet and get your son to scroll by it, and you can do a lobotomy on your wife. How successful will you be is the issue. And it's the same thing with SEO. If you're willing to sit down and take the time to learn, it's all out there. All of the information is out there. But if you're a double glazing installer and you're trying to build a business installing doors and windows, do you have time to wade through all that? And not only do you have time to wade through it all, but you also have to figure out whether it's old information, is it inaccurate information, is it information someone put out there who also didn't know what they were doing?
Now, we were talking before we came in, and I said to you that we hear about Google changing the different criteria when it comes to the way that they assess a website. Mm-hmm. I mean, for instance, we were talking about meta tags. Everybody talks about meta tags and keywords. Mm-hmm. We hear a lot about that. And you said, actually, Google really haven't changed that much since their conception. What they've just done is they've refined what they've already got and they've made it slightly different. So instead of the keywords sitting in things like the meta tags that are on the HTML or on the code of your web page, you actually need to be now putting your keywords into your text and making them keyword rich.
Google hasn't really changed what they're looking for since the day they opened their doors. They've always said, content is king. Build a website with good content. And they give you some things, some engineering things that you want to do on the back end. But what they've really always ever said is just create good content and help us find stuff that we can connect people to, because they're a service provider. What they provide is a search engine. And you're not their customer. The people doing searches are. And so if someone searches for online TV shows about business, the search result needs to be the one that that searcher is looking for, not the one that Steve Hyland wants them to see. Google loses customers, quote unquote customers. It's a free service, but they're customers. And Google loses them when they don't find the search engine results they're after. Google hasn't changed anything. You always hear SEO guys saying, oh, Google's changed the rules again. No, what Google keeps changing, when you hear these things like Panda, and these different
Penguin was the
Penguin and
yeah.
Panda, yeah, all these different animals they like to use. Those are all things that are a process of where Google has refined their search algorithms to weed out the bad guys, the guys who are trying to manipulate the system. They've never changed their stand that the way to get your website to the top of our search engine results pages is to create good content.
Right, we're going to talk about content in just a moment then. Content in just a second. While we're talking about content, can I just say to you right now, what we'd like you to do is to be involved with our content. If you haven't watched us before and you think to yourself, you know, I'm actually quite enjoying this is really good information, check out this. Press that little button that's just sitting there on the screen and you can subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you want, you can also watch us as well on iTunes. You can go there. We'll download the programs on a regular basis. Roku, right across the world on Roku, you can find us there too. And of course, you can always go to our website as well at www.businessconnectionslive.com. But to give you some really good reasons of why you should be maybe pressing that button, here's two very nice people to tell you why. If you're a business owner and you need advice on how to make your business more successful, then Business Connections Live TV is just for you.
Our leading industry experts cut out the guesswork for growing businesses. How to use social media, what to expect from your accountant, web design, SEO, and so much more.
Business Connections Live TV is here to give you the motivation you need to succeed.
How you doing? My name's Brad Burton. I'm the motivational speaker that everyone's talking about right now, and I'm on Business Connections Live. What a show! What a show! People, do check it out.
If you're struggling with Facebook and LinkedIn.
Most people that I meet are on LinkedIn. Virtually, you know, there's 14.5 million people just in the UK. I think the figures currently are 238 million people worldwide. But I would say that most of them don't really understand how to use it.
How to present your ideas more effectively.
Hello, I'm Philip Skinner, Shaw Walker Lees. A brilliant way to get message across. I'm actually thinking that we might switch away from our quarterly newsletter to do a video and get it sent through to staff and clients.
To generating leads and finding new business.
Hi, I'm Jim McLaughlin, Managing Director of business development company Axial, and I'd just like to say what a pleasure it's been to have the opportunity to appear on Business Connections Live.
Subscribe and be part of the Business Connections Live TV online community for free.
Business Connections Live TV every Wednesday, 6 p.m. GMT, or catch up on the Business Connections Live TV YouTube channel.
Make certain your business is connected with Business Connections Live TV. That's all you need to do is press that little button that's just sitting there and become part of the Business Connections Live community. We give you a program every week, different topics, different subjects. As we said last week, it was all about property. This week we're talking about internet marketing. In fact, we're talking about some of the do's and the don'ts when it comes to what you should be doing with internet marketing and the internet, the whole area of electronic marketing in general. Something I do want to just remind you about as well, this is going to be coming up very shortly, is going to be the Business Show 2015. Quick reminder, 13th and 15th of May at the Excel in London. Picture there of Brad Burton, some of the keynote speakers that are going to be there. Now, incidentally, if you went to the last show, many of those people that you can see on that particular screen, we had the opportunity to meet and also to interview. They joined us on our web stand and we've got a whole series of interviews that come live from that particular show. There's about 30 or so of them there. You can find them on our website, or if you go to the Business Show's website, you'll find that they've got the recordings of the days there as well. And we're talking to them at the moment. There's a good chance we could be at Excel as well and broadcasting live for the 2 days. We're quite excited about that. So that's the future just around the corner. Right, we've been talking about keywords, phrases, what Google are doing, how to get to the front page and all the rest of it, and maybe some of the things that you should be considering and maybe thinking about when it comes to looking at your own internet marketing on your website and the things you say. What are the kind of things we should be considering then? Because we've already said that Google fundamentally haven't changed, it's just refined.
Again, it goes back to being proactive. Don't react to an email that you get that says I can get you to the top, page 1 of Google. I can get you to the top of Google. The first person that'll always tell you that's a fallacy is Google. Their algorithms, the processes they use to decide who goes to the top are so refined that you can't manipulate them. But there are a lot of companies collecting a lot of money from their customers to do just that. Engineer your website properly, get the code done right, create good content, and then use some of these other methods to promote them. SEO has a place, and there is a refined amount of SEO that needs to be done on every website, but it's got to do with architecture and behind the scenes stuff. But it can't be manipulative. Google can very quickly determine if you're trying to manipulate their rankings of your business, and then that'll affect you negatively more than it will positively.
We hear about the word backlinking, and we get emails. We can build a backlinking library to your website to increase your rankings. First of all, what is backlinking?
Backlinking is a link from someone else's website to your website. It's meant to be an indicator of credibility. If I like Business Connections Live and I'm writing a blog on my website, and I say, so, really, you should check these guys out, and here's a link to their website, that's a credible backlink. That's me endorsing you. The bad backlinks are the ones that are done on these link farms and these directories that nobody ever looks at, that aren't meant for the human eyes to see. These are backlinks that are posted simply so that Google will see them and follow them and give you credit. And they'll work for a while. But these algorithms I was talking about, like Penguin and Panda, these are all designed to track down these rogue backlink sites, these backlink sites, backlink farms that are being manipulated by the SEO guys. There's a place for backlinks, and backlinks have a place, but it's very hard to get a credible backlink, and the best way to get a credible backlink, again, goes to good content.
So backlinks are important, good backlinks.
Quality backlinks. Yeah.
Quality backlinks.
Yeah.
Credible content that is relevant and is readable, I would imagine, is also very... Is there a way that you could, when you look at a web page, you think to yourself, they've missed the essence of what they should be doing when they write their copy? Is there something you should have in the forefront of your mind when you're writing copy to make it so that it is more Google friendly, for want of a better phrase?
The whole purpose of your website is to get people to take action. You create a website because you want them to buy your stuff. And so the content has to convince them. Content is a discussion between you and the customer. It's a very one-sided discussion, but it's content between you and your prospect about what services you provide, about what products you deliver, about your features, about your benefits. Every time you think that you might want to hire an SEO guy, hang up the phone, turn around and call a content writer. Improve your content, improve your content, improve your content. I just made a lot of friends on the content side and a lot of enemies on the SEO side. But call a good content writer. Get good content on your website. There's a place for SEO, but it may not be as big a place as you're led to believe.
You mentioned your blog there a moment or so ago. Are blogs a powerful way of driving people to your site? Yeah,
blogs are extremely important to your website because it's content, but not only is it content, it's fresh content. A lot of the aspects of your business don't really change that much from day to day. So you need the typical pages you see that talk about who you are and what you do and what your credentials are. But the blogs are an ongoing conversation. It's you giving new information. And one of the things that Google does is Google looks at your website on a regular basis, but part of the frequency of how often they look at your website is based on how often your website changes. Because Google's algorithm won't look at it every day if it only changes once a year. Every time you post a blog article, It takes a finite amount of time for Google to find that blog article. Once they find a new blog article, they think, all right, he's got new content. We better come back in a few days and check for more new content. And they come back in a few days and they check for more new content, and there's no new content. Well, now they'll start to broaden that back out again.
And when we say new content, will Google see all forms of new content? So they'll see blogs? Do they see videos? Do they see pictures? Will they see all of it? Or are they looking for the written word all the time?
No, they'll see images if you properly code the images. That goes back to metadata. If you put the images up, but you put some behind the scenes code in them to tell Google what those images actually mean. Alt tags. Well done.
See, well, I'm there.
But it all adds into the process. Images add into it. Video adds into it. Video is one of the most powerful things going now. It is the big trend. Video on your website. It humanizes it if you can get yourself on a video talking there, because it directly says, I am Michael Nagels and this is what I do.
Easy fixes then, because we're going to talk about where we find these people in just a moment, but easy fixes, if you had maybe just 3 key things that you wanted to recommend that people did, what would they be, do you think?
Wow, easy fixes. How often do you find a good easy fix? What's an easy fix for brain cancer? It's honestly, it's hard to give you easy fixes because there just aren't any. There's simple, practical things you can do, which is to get in, and you need some skills to do this, but make sure that you've got good title descriptions. Make sure that you've got a good menuing system. Make sure that your website is easy to navigate. One of the biggest things, or 2 big things that you can do, make sure that your website loads fast, because Google watches how long it takes your website to load when they ping it. And if it takes a long time to load, that'll affect your standings in the search engine rankings. The other thing you can do that is a relatively new innovation is get a site security certificate installed by your web guy. You know how some websites say HTTPS?
Yes.
Some say this it's a secure site. It'll show the little padlock. Google is actually using that now as a reflection of your credibility. Because if you're a fly-by-night guy, if you're a rogue agent, if you're doing bad things, you're not going to invest the money in these security certificates. You can take a WordPress website. WordPress is free. If you've got some skills, you can get it up and running, and you can register the domain for £6. If you've done all that, you can get the website up and running. Site security certificate starts to cost £100, £150, depends on who you buy them from and what level you buy. You're not going to spend £100 if you're running a scam.
That's a really interesting point, and the fact that Google are actually observing that and seeing that.
Well, and the other point is, and I always like to use the window and door guys, if you're a window and door guy, and I'm a window and door guy, and you got great content, and I got great content, we need something to make me better than you so I can get above you. And if I do a site certificate, that'll get me the winning edge.
Great idea. How do you go about getting the expertise then to come in? I mean, we said at the very beginning that we've got to be very careful that when we do commission someone and we outsource something, we've got to be very careful that we keep control of that. But if we feel we don't have the skills, but we have the managerial skills to, make certain that it's in our name and we're doing it for us and we can follow that through, but we don't have the technical skills or maybe even just the pure time to sit down to create great content. Where do we go? Who do we see? This is, I suppose, leading on to the whole area of networking. You're a member of you're a regional
regional leader for 4
regional
networking.
Leader for 4 networking. How do we maximise our return when we go along to a 4 networking or any networking event? How do we make absolutely certain that when we walk in that door, we're getting our pound per buck?
A lot of it is. I've used the term education so many times tonight. My teachers would all be so proud. It is a certain amount of education in how to network. Don't go to a networking meeting expecting that you're going to sell something there. If you're a widget salesman, leave your widgets in the car. Don't bring them in. Don't show samples. Go in there and start building relationships. It's these relationships that can protect you from all of this stuff that we've talked about in your web marketing. At every networking meeting, you mentioned 4 networking. That's my group that I'm involved in. I'm a big believer in 4 networking because it's worked for me. But at any networking group that you're in, you can find people who do this stuff, who do web design, who do social media, who do SEO and SEM. It doesn't mean you should hire them, Because if you're in the right networking organization, they're going to have a process set up where you can learn more about these people without actually talking to them. If you told me right now you needed a plumber in, where are we again, Sussex?
Surrey.
Sorry, Surrey.
Sorry.
Yeah. If you told me right now you need a plumber in Surrey,
Easy for you to say.
I could not only find you the name
you're
of...
from Texas.
Yeah.
Surrey.
Sorry.
No, Surrey.
Sorry, sir. If you told me right now we're going to go to electrician, it might work better. If you told me right now you need an electrician in Surrey, I could go through my networking organization for networking, and I can go in and I can find who does the work and what their reputation is like. I can find people who have promoted them or given them testimonials. We have a testimonial system. If nothing else, I can find out where they're going to meetings at, and I might know somebody who goes to one of those meetings. If nothing else, I can get up and go to the meeting and go in and say, I need a plumber.
So that personal recommendation is really one of the most important ways. And also the fact that you're not doing it just on your own, that other people can help you with the recommendation. They can also endorse these people too.
Yeah. Networking is about building relationships. It's not about sales. You go to networking to broaden your network. Very few people sitting in a networking meeting that's meeting tomorrow morning at Watford are going to be looking for a plumber. But if a plumber walks in there and builds a good relationship, when they do need a plumber, who are they going to call?
Him.
They're going to call that guy.
Yeah.
We all know a plumber that we love. We all know an electrician we love. We may even know a web designer that we love. It's a matter of when you need him. Right now, my father-in-law, this will get my phone ringing, my father-in-law's got problems with his washing machine. We're looking for someone who could help him fix this washing machine. My father-in-law is not going to buy a new washing machine until the government has certified this thing is dead. And so if...
Sounds like my father, this one.
And so right now I don't know anyone who does washing machine repair because quite honestly, there's none in my network in Hertfordshire. But if there were one, I'd be ready for him. So if you are a washing machine repairman and you'd like to get some more customers, maybe Watford tomorrow morning would be a good place to go.
So, okay, let's very quickly, because we're rapidly approaching the end.
Sure.
The things, and I always kind of do it this way around. The things that people get wrong then going in to networking events, they think that they are selling events. They're walking in there, they think they're about to sell. In fact, what they're doing, they're going in to make contacts, they're going in there to let people know, to inform, to educate about what they do, so that if in the event that maybe perhaps they or somebody else in the future may need the services that they provide, then people can actually go, well, actually, yeah, I have met somebody.
Well, they go to networking meetings and they think they're going to sell something, and then they're disappointed that they've been to 2 meetings and they haven't sold anything. When we first moved to the UK, for the first few months we lived here, I didn't drive, and so my wife drove me to 4 networking meetings. And I'd always get in the car and she'd always say, "Did you sell anything?" And I would say, "No, but I didn't come here to sell anything." And it took her a while to understand the theory behind that. If you join a networking group for networking, BNI or anybody else, go to the meetings. Networking is work. This is part of your business. Networking is part of your marketing program. You're not going there to have breakfast. The breakfast is a side element of why you're at a networking meeting. You're at the meeting to build relationships. So go in there with the serious intention of building relationships. Most of these meetings have a 40-second round or a 60-second round. So go in there with a practiced 40-second round that says what you do and why they should talk to you. For networking does, at every meeting you get 3 business appointments for 10 minutes with people who want to know more about your business. Take them seriously. It's lovely to talk about your dog, it's lovely to talk about the weather, but make sure you're talking about how you can help them. And even better, instead of talking on and on and on for 10 minutes about how you can help them, find out how they can help you. Because the other guy always wants to talk about his business more, and he'll remember you better if you made it all about him instead of making it all about yourself.
Do you think people aren't very good listeners?
Well, yeah, it's known. None of us are. It's listening is a skill. You have to make yourself listen.
Undertaking the things that the people are saying to you.
Yeah.
I suppose by listening, you're understanding what the issues are, the problems are, and therefore maybe you can come up with a solution.
Yeah. I've got a client through 4 Networking that we went to meetings together for almost a year and never had a one-to-one, but at one point after about 8 months, he came up to me and he said, you know, I've got a new project I want to start and I want to get your ideas on it. I know we've never talked seriously about business, but I think you might be the guy to help me. I met that guy through For Networking. Now we're a year and a half into the project and it's working out really well.
Just because the show. So then, okay, so in a few moments' time, I'm going to ask you to look down the lens and give us maybe some takeaways, both for the world of internet marketing and also for networking as well. So a bit of a tall order. I haven't told you we're going to do that. So
all right.
You're going to be doing that. I'll be straight down the lens very shortly.
A couple of cameras over there. I'll go with the one with the red light on.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I'll tell you when, though. I'll tell you when. So,
right.
so prepare yourself a little bit for that. That's coming up in just a second. I mean, it's been a fascinating night tonight. We've found out a lot about not only For Networking, of course, but we've also found out as well about some of the things that you should be considering as well when it. Oh, there we go. Some of the things you should be considering when it comes to what you should be looking at with your internet website, what you should be doing. They're the things you need to be thinking about as well. Listen, it's been a fascinating evening. Coming up on the show, our guest next week is going to be Josh Pearce of My PT Plan. Is university really the way to go for a true entrepreneur? Josh was given the opportunity to go one way or the other, be an entrepreneur. It's a strange old choice, isn't it? Be an entrepreneur or to go to university. He chose to be an entrepreneur. I think he sold his first business just last year, at the end of last year. An amazing bloke. He's going to be with us next week. And the following week, on Wednesday, the 11th of Feb, we've got Dan Spicer. Now, you may have heard Dan's name before on the programme. He's from Hootsuite. If you are a big fan of social media, maybe you use Hootsuite in your campaigns when you're getting out there. Remember, Hootsuite allows you to send out your tweets at different times, but you must remember to use it properly, because remember, all social media is a conversation. It isn't one way, it's not broadcasting. You've also got to be receiving as well. And we'll be giving you some tips, some help, some advice on what you should be doing when it comes to using Hootsuite. That's going to be with Dan Spicer on the 11th of February. And don't forget the business show as well at Excel on 13th and 14th of May. All right, that's the parish council announcements all made. Let's find out maybe some of the takeaways that you need from tonight's programme with our guest this evening, Michael Nagels of Strother Marketing Solutions. Okay, I'd like you to look down camera number one. The red light will come on. If you take a breath, there we are. He's getting ready now. The rustling you heard, by the way, was a young Michael just adjusting his microphone. He's got it right up on his neck, but he's okay now. All right then, so take a breath, say who you are, straight down the lens, and really it's the takeaways that we need when it comes to internet marketing, and also maybe how to maximise our return when it comes to networking.
The most important thing, as I said this evening, is maintain ownership. That's the biggest problem I help people solve. Don't let somebody else own your domain. Don't let somebody else have unlimited or uncooperative access to your website server, your web hosting service, or anything like that. There are a lot of people that are very skilled at these things, and you do need their help, but you should hold the keys to the kingdom. When it comes to networking, the most important thing to remember is it's part of your job. It's part of your business growth plan. It's part of your marketing. The thing to remember is that when you go to these meetings, they are serious business, but you should also have a lot of fun. Don't join an organization that you can't have fun at, because it is work and you want to have fun at work. Build good relationships, do what you say you'll do, and get as involved as you possibly can, because the more involved you are, the higher your visibility is going to be. So if you're a part of an organization like For Networking that offers team roles, join a team role. You don't do it to make For Networking bigger, you do it to make your business bigger. For Networking offers what they call a foresight opportunity. If you're a member, you can present for 20 minutes at every meeting, or at a meeting where you're booked in to present, on elements of your business that improve your credibility within For Networking. It's not meant to be a sales pitch. It's meant to be informational or educational. Take advantage of those. It's an opportunity for you to stand up in front of a crowd and present yourself.
Well, there we are. It's as simple and as straightforward as that. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure having you in. I felt that we could have probably spoken for 2 hours because I think the subject matter is so huge. If people want to get in contact with you, where do they need to go?
They can ring me on 01438-900-132. That's the best way to get a hold of me. If you'd like to have breakfast with me, find a For Networking meeting anywhere in Hertfordshire or along the borders in Buckinghamshire and Bedfordshire, and I'll if I'm not there this week, I'll be there next week.
And if you know a washing machine engineer for Michael's dad, then also get in touch with him as well, because
big points with my father-in-law for the washing machine.
And he's just really working on that at the moment, and probably if nothing else comes out this evening, then that would be absolutely fantastic. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Can we just sort of say, if you've enjoyed tonight's programme, it's been fascinating, a real insight. Check out your website. That's what you need to do before you maybe shut down your laptop tonight or whatever. Check out your website, see who owns it. Wouldn't it be awful if it isn't you? If that is the case, then do something about it, get it all sorted. But from all the team here, can we just say thank you very much indeed. Just one final reminder, don't forget to, if you thought the show was fantastic, if you loved the show and you'd like one like this for your business, we can do little mini ones. Get in contact with us here at Business Connections Live. There's the information on the screen. businessconnectionslive.com is our website. If you want to as well, you can also contact us on the phone. We've got a telephone number as well. It's 01784 256 777. Ask for Linda or Steve, or go to the website businessconnectionslive.com. And don't forget, if you go to the website there or to YouTube, you can watch all the past shows absolutely free. That, my friends, is your lot for tonight. On the show next week, we've got Josh Pearce of My PT Plan, and the week after that, we've got Dan Spicer from Hootsuite, going to be talking about all the good things that you can do with Hootsuite. But from me, Steve Highland, thank you very much for watching. It's been a pleasure having you in the studio, Michael.
Appreciate the opportunity.
We'll see you next week live, Wednesday night at 6. Till then, bye for now. Bye-bye.